afternoon, cool roadies. You cannot know how much I am grateful for your visit today. I have been turning over a new leaf from the last couple weeks and just trying to change my mindset, because you know how we can get sucked into all of the negativity in the world, and there is so much of it, and it is all valid. But for myself, I have to figure out a way to survive it all, to change my patterns and behaviors so that I can handle the negativity, because I find that certain things, that patterns of living that I do, that it's just even drags me down more. I don't know about you, but it just drags me down more. And the reason I am speaking about this is because on my phone came this like things pop up on the screen on your phone, and what popped up was from Apple News, which I don't even know. Maybe it's because I have an Apple phone that it automatically does it. I don't think I've ever subscribed to it. Oh yeah, this is a channel about about quilting, not cross stitch, about quilting, but I'll get to it soon enough. So this thing popped up on my phone that was a podcast. It was a link to a podcast on happiness put out by Yale University. And so I said, oh, I could use a little bit of happiness. So I clicked on it and I listened to it, and it kind of gave you guidelines. I guess there's a whole class you can take at Yale on happiness. I'm going to have to research that. But this was just a short podcast on things you can do, little tips to kind of flip that switch, because I don't know about you, but something horrible happens in the world, and I start that slippery slope where that horrible event is connected to every other horrible event. And it's not to discount those horrible events, but what I don't want to have happen is apathy. I don't want to be apathetic. I want to take those horrible events and be proactive. And I think the only way to do that is to keep marching forward in a positive way. And so this podcast was great because what it encouraged everyone who listened to it to do was to make patterns, look at the patterns of your day and change them if they're negative. So there are some things like I could get sucked down the social media tube as much as the next person, but a lot of it is not very positive. Certain television shows, you know what I'm talking about. There's some shows I wonder who's watching them. I don't even like the commercial of them. So I also have, it's kind of interesting because back in my 50s, I did keep a gratitude journal where I wrote every day something that I'm grateful for. And I'm going to start that again. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, earth-changing gratitude. It just like, I got to sit outside and have lunch today. I'm so grateful for that. It's kind of like taking your mind and just starting it with something positive so that when life happens, which it does, you have some reserve. And what I've been doing these last few months is slowly using up my reserve. so that when something sad happens in the world or something, I find that I just, what's the point? You know, what kind of world are we leaving our children? I'll just go on and on. We have a good world that needs help. And the only way we're going to help it is if we can put one foot in front of the other. And little changes, little changes. So I know this, I mean, maybe this sounds totally bonkers to you, but so I'm waking up each day and being grateful for something in my life. I am trying to practice discarding or pushing down before it takes a hold any kind of negative conversation in my head. You know, someone cuts you off in traffic and you're like, ah. No, just kind of stop that and think, wow, I wonder what, maybe something's going on with them, you know. It's that, so there's little changes that I'm trying to do. That's all I'm just saying, is that it's a work in progress. There's no two ways about it. It's a work in progress. But it is helping, because there is just challenges in the world, isn't there? And really, when you look at fabric, it's also pretty. It's positive right there. I mean, we've chosen a positive way to spend our time, you know, so there we go. I'm still working. I'm still, as we're talking, I am still tacking down this binding. I can't believe my daughter-in-law was over the other day, and she's changing her job to a what I think is a more positive job for her. And she was over the other day, and I didn't have this done, so I couldn't give it to her. So I really need to be stitching this while we're talking, okay? I'm going to be stitching this while we're talking. I have, at the end of this video, I'll have G post the winner of this awesome, awesome kit with that beautiful wool I was talking about from the Cotton Harvest. Oh, Cotton Harvest Quilt Shop. This, and it even has the background fabric in it, so that will be at the end of this. I've been looking at different things on Netflix and television, and you know, because all I'm doing is watching reruns. I mean, a lot of the new stuff is, I mean, a whole TV show about Married at First Sight. I saw that commercial. Although G and I did get married awful fast. But not at first sight. Yeah. It took us 3 weeks to get engaged. Yeah. Well, I took that quilt that Silas's Bear, you know, that I had made for my middle grandson back in 2019 and never gave it to him. Totally forgot about it. I don't know what was happening at the time, but his birthday happened, and so I took that over, and I couldn't remember. It's kind of really embarrassing to think about when you're a quilter, you're a grandma, and quilting by its very nature tends to be giving. I couldn't remember ever. Now, I take that back. I was just going to say, I don't think I ever made a quilt for his baby brother, but I did. I made a quilt like for the shower, before he was born, mind you, for the shower. It was a Leo the lion quilt. But I decided, I came home and I said, I have to make that boy a quilt. And it's so funny. I mean, this last week was so funny because he he came with his dad on Father's Day to visit G, and he's kind of he is like a over the top personality in that he's a stink pot. You know, he gives you the stink eye if he doesn't like something, and you know, very, I can't even count on one hand the times I've made him laugh or smile or whatever. He's, you know, he would make a great CEO. But what was really funny was my older son, his uncle and aunt were over, and he was all about them. I could not believe it. I was flabbergasted. He was laughing and running, and I was like, what am I, chopped liver? But I do love him. And I said, I need to make a new quilt for him. So I went through my pile of my stash because I'm really trying to incorporate my quilting this year, not only with new fabrics, but with stuff that's in my stash that I've already purchased. So I looked through the whole shelving and I came up with this pack that I had bought from the So Yeah brothers. And they have a show. They have a D-stash of older fabrics and new fabrics. Twice a week they have a show. And you go on and it's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, let me just say. But I had bought this pack, and it's there. This is a jelly roll that their idea of a jelly roll is this is how it's packaged. And this one is called Sweet Safari by Benertex. And so it has all kinds of jungle animals and such. So I said I'm going to use this for him, and I'm going to make 9 patch blocks. So I looked up, you know, I know that I have patterns someplace in here, but I looked up both in the pre-cut book and online, 9 patch made specifically with jelly rolls, and it looked pretty darn simple. So all I needed was a setting, because your 9 patch is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You know, it'll be 12 2.5-inch squares by the time you've sewn them, cut them and sewn them together. And so you want like setting squares. And so I looked all through my pile, auditioning different fabrics that could possibly, that it would be a big enough piece for this quilt, because it'll be like maybe kind of a lapper twin, somewhere around there, size quilt. So I needed a fair amount of fabric for the setting squares. And then I came up with this idea because I had this other fabric that I had purchased from So Yeah. Every so often they'll have a show where they are selling 5-yard cuts. Great, great prices, great product, great service, you know, putting it out there. And I found this piece, which is flannel. And it has all the jungle animals on it, you know, like an elephant and a giraffe and a lion. And I said, wouldn't that be neat to have the setting square be out of this flannel so that every other square is kind of like a soft, cozy. You know how little kids like cozies, or they like the satin around the edge, that kind of thing. So I am going to use that as my setting squares. And then if I have enough, I'm hoping there'll be enough for the back of it. And this particular one is a Robert Kaufman flannel. So I've got that on my agenda. Of course, it's going to take a few weeks because in the next week I'm going to be pushing hard towards the Quilters Affair, which is a week-long event in Sisters, Oregon that precedes the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show, which is the largest quilt show in the world. All in one little town. It's so wonderful. And we have, you know, it's been limited. Last year was limited. The year before it was totally canceled. But now we kind of feel like maybe, although that brings up another, you know, our whole pattern of living is entirely different. And there's thousands of people that come over from all over the world traditionally for this event. And I think the most quilts we've had hanging there were like 1,400 quilts. Can you imagine? 1,400 quilts put up by starting at 7 in the morning. They are ready to, they're all hung by 9, all over town, outside, off of all the buildings. It is an amazing event. Oh, I need to keep stitching, huh, while I'm talking. It is an amazing event, and one that is definitely a bucket list. But now we have had a disruption. And I think, I'm not sure what their expectation is for classes and stuff, but, you know, there was just an event, a Stitcher event, where I think 50 people got COVID. So it is still out there. So the whole hugging, I'm not, you know, because I still have one grandchild that's not vaccinated, and so I feel more committed to keeping him safe. And my other grandchild is in preschool, which is a petri dish, irregardless. And I would feel so horrible if I passed on something to someone else. So I'm going to be doing, I think I'm going to be doing the elbow bump. The elbow bump instead of the hugging. I hate that I have to even think about things like this. Yeah. Yeah, it's what it is though. And it's I'm taking a new positive attitude about things. And so an elbow bump, maybe I'll make some patches on my elbow that says, "Bump me." Yeah. But this event is amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while, and so I'll be busy. Life will be a little bit crazy here for the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I'm going to have to be prepping for that, and then I'll be teaching for 5 days, and then the show. But I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, today it's so glorious. It's absolutely so glorious outside, and all of the yards and the gardens are just blooming like crazy. although we're outside the Portland proper area, we're a community that's we're in the greater Portland area, I should say. The airport is probably about 12, 15 miles from me, and so we're kind of on a flight pattern, and I've been kind of watching the planes take off, what time of day they're taking off, and you hear all this stuff about what's going on in the airlines and the news and stuff, but seems like things are still moving, which is a good thing. So here's positive number one. Hey, there's an airplane, and it's flying. I have been getting things ready because I'm going down. Can I say this again? How many times are you going to hear me repeat myself? I'm going down to Sisters. And I want to take things to, the things I don't have time to quilt, I take to my long arm quilter. And so I had to get the backs ready. So you know the spool quilt that was made out of that pre-cuts. I found this backing, and this actually came from, this is real pretty. It's Northcott Studio, and this came from So Yeah also. So I have that ready, and then I have my log cabin quilt, and this was a kit that was sold at the Stitch and Post. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And my friend Dale helped me with this. She put it together, and then I did a 1/4-inch seam. I just sewed a 1/4 inch from the edge all the way around it, because it has all of those. There's no border, you know, there's only the edge. So to kind of give it a little bit of strength, I just sewed a 1/4 inch around the entire thing. And I went to Pioneer Quilts, which is a shop here in Portland, to look for a backing. And I decided I wanted to get a, you know, one of the backings that is like 108 inches. You know, it's already, you don't have to piece it together. But there aren't a whole lot of choices. And so I was keeping my fingers crossed. And when I went in, there was this bolt. It must have just come in because it was a full bolt. And I don't see, oh, here's the, let me see if I could find, it's called Farmhouse Quilts by Kim Deal for Henry Glass. Well, we love Kim Deal, huh? But look at this. Isn't that perfect for the log cabin quilt? I mean, it's perfect. I was so excited. I was so excited. Yeah. So those two things are ready. Yay! I feel a little bit like maybe what people without ADHD feel like they're organized. You know, like the O word. Yeah. And it's like at least a week and a half, 2 weeks before I leave, and I have my 2 tops done. It's so cool. I can hardly stand myself. I saw this fabric on, I did make another fabric purchase because I saw this fabric on the Fat Quarter Shop site, and I love the color. You know, what's not to love about Blackbird design? But this one, I've seen, and I have, a similar print in red and black, but I hadn't seen the green. And so I purchased a yard of that. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's a print of cross-stitch sampling. I just love the color, because it's different. And it has words on it, and you know how I like words in alphabet. So that was my big splurge this last week, was for that. I'm currently, where's my phone, listening to a book that was recommended to me, and I'm enjoying it. It's called Ordinary Grace by William Kent Kruger. I think what I like about it is like a novel. Like, we read a lot of books for entertainment, the entertainment value in terms of like suspense or romance or whatever. This book is more meaty. Is that a word? It reads to me like a novel, and so I'm enjoying it. Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. So that's the current audiobook that I am on. We did start watching a show that we still don't know what the heck's going on, but it's captured us. And it captured us from the get-go because of the actors. So, John Lithgow and Jeff Bridges. And they're two old CIA people on opposite ends of a spectrum. John Lithgow's the suit guy. Jeff Bridges is the in the trenches guy. And it's called This Old Man because they're old. I mean, they're both old actors and they're playing old characters. But it's one of those shows where you're going, what's going on? What? And so, we always, G and I always, we don't always like the same things. We'll watch some things, together, but one of us may not be totally enthralled compared to the other, but we're spending time together watching it. But this one, we're both like glued. What the heck is going on? Yeah. I've never been, this isn't a horror, any kind of horror. I watched the first season of Stranger Things, and I liked it. But the second season, I watched the first episode, and I was nearly scared out of my bloomers. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle watching the whole season. It was frightening. Frightening. Yeah. And G has no desire to go to the movie theater. But we did rent and watched on paid per view the latest Downton Abbey. Did I already tell you this? The latest Downton Abbey movie? And I loved it. I loved it because you know what? It wrapped up everything in a positive way, and that's what I'm moving towards. I am moving towards a positive life, and it doesn't mean that I want everything rosy. It doesn't mean, that I'm Pollyanna, but I think the more positive we have in our world, the better we can handle the negative. That's all I'm saying. And so this latest Downton Abbey movie, it wrapped up all the relationships in a really feel-good way. I mean, at the end, it was like, yes, yes, okay, this is how I want the story to end. This is how I want the story to end. Okay, well, I think I've been jabbering enough. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you could subscribe and give me a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you the next time around. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more done. Thank you again. Love you guys.